Chris Delisle. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, Emily, for having me.
Absolutely. I'm better known as Chris Cooking Nashville.
Correct.
So how'd you come up with that name?
It's funny, back before I had a YouTube channel or any of these kinds of things, my wife and I actually owned a micro sourdough bakery back before I knew what low carb was.
Shut
And
up.
I made handmade artisan sourdough. And so we had this thing, it was called Music City Bread Co. And it was like all these different kinds of flavored breads and different things, and they all had musical names and all this kind of stuff. And so I was on social media promoting that. That's what saw us through 2020 because as musicians, we'd lost everything in 2020. And so I started this bakery as a way to, survive. And so I had all of this food that I was cooking when I wasn't doing bakery stuff, but I didn't want it to cross over in the bakery thing because the bakery was just about bread. So I actually created a separate Instagram called Chris Cooking Nashville because we were in Nashville and I was just posting just pictures of things that I would make for dinner or whatever. And fast forward, we find out about low carb and keto and then carnivore and this whole thing. And so the bakery ended up kind of going away. It was that business had run its course, and we moved on to do our musical pursuits that my wife and I do and different things. And so I decided I wanted to start a YouTube channel as I went down this journey of keto and carnivore because we had done it once and then I didn't deal with carb addiction. I went back off the rails, gained a bunch of weight back, all this stuff. And so I wanted to start a YouTube channel to document my own journey and to try to hopefully maybe inspire one or two other people and to have kind of a record of what I'd done. And so I was thinking of what I would call this channel. And I already had that Instagram name of Chris Cooking Nashville. And my wife and I, being musicians and self-employed musicians, independent artists, this kind of stuff, we do all the branding, we do all the marketing, we do everything ourselves. And so we thought about that, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do something, I should totally use this brand I kind of have already developed with Chris Cooking Nashville. And so I went and completely redid that Instagram account, and then I started a YouTube channel and got a Facebook page and all of that. And I used that Chris Cooking Nashville name across all of those social medias, and here we are today as Chris Cooking Nashville.
Awesome. And it's such a tiny little channel.
I know.
134,000 subscribers. And you
Yeah,
say
not
it just like it was an idea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not bad for 2 years. I've been running this channel for about 2 years, and it took I think, took a little over not quite a year and a half to hit that first 100K, which is that's kind of like the big milestone as a YouTuber. You hit your 100K and you get your little silver play button thing, and yeah, I started doing this, and at first it was really just a health vlog, and then I had intended to just kind of show some of the meals I was cooking. But you know, I love cooking. I've grown up in the kitchen, and I love being creative in the kitchen. And it was one of the things the first time around that I struggled with keto and carnivore is I didn't feel like I had the creativity in the kitchen anymore because so many of the ingredients were gone. And there weren't really a lot of recipes online. And some of the ones that you do find online, a lot of them tend to be like the Instagram or the TikTok reel style recipes where they may or may not actually work. They're just clickbait worthy. And a lot of it just I didn't think it was very good stuff. And a lot of it I would look at it and I would immediately say there's no way that would even work. Like I can tell that's a fake recipe from the outset. So I started creating my own, and I just started posting stuff. I knew absolutely nothing about what I was doing. I had no experience with video filming or editing or any of the stuff that I do now. And so my first videos were absolutely terrible, as every YouTuber's videos are. And I just kind of started posting recipes, and suddenly people started paying attention. And then Anita from Ketogenic Woman,
Oh, she's the
um,
sweetest.
she is amazing, and I had been watching her. She was one of the few places I found recipes that seemed like they would actually work. And so I'd been watching her. My parents were watching her as they were, doing keto. And so I sent an email to her after I'd done a couple of recipes of my own creation. And I sent her one and I said, hey, I'm just really inspired by your channel and what you do. And I love what you do. And I just thought maybe you might find this interesting, and I hope you're well. And I don't know what it was about it, but something about my email resonated with her. And she actually responded to me and said, "This is really cool. You have something I think the low carb world needs to see. I want to share this." And so she did a gravy recipe of mine in a video, featured it, and told her followers to come subscribe to me. And so I had been getting like, 10 or 20 people watching my videos. And then suddenly she says that, and my videos go, and I got this little spike of subscribers of, a couple hundred people. And I had been starting to study like YouTube analytics and how you actually make the algorithm work for you, and what YouTube responds to and what the viewers are like and all, because I go down rabbit holes and get nerdy about this stuff. And so I had started researching, and I knew that I had this little boost, and I was like, I need to capitalize on that because, again, marketing, branding, as musicians, this is what we do. And I was like, if I can reach more people, I can inspire more people and share these things with more people. And so I tried to harness that little bit of momentum that I got from her. And I just started pounding away at being a YouTuber. I started doing weekly recipes, and I was doing weekly health vlogs at the time. We just kind of built from there, and it really started to take off. And then I had some other YouTubers that are really popular in the low carb space start to pick up a couple of the stranger recipes that I had done. The carnivore mashed potatoes being the first one that got picked up, and they started reviewing it, and my recipe started getting good reviews from other YouTubers. And then, of course, that really kicked into gear, people finding what I was doing. And I very quickly became known as that weird carnivore guy who does all of these crazy recipes, like putting bologna in a blender and turning it into carnivore refried beans, or, just all of these really crazy things. And so it just really took off from there. And it has been a wild ride ever since, but it's a passion that I never expected to have, and now it's what I do full time, along with being a musician with my wife. So,
I love it. I love it. And I love how the creativity translates over from, because
mm,
you're a creative. I mean, if you're a
hmm,
musician, you're a creative and you're
yes,
creating this content, but then also that creativity with the food. You're taking
hmm,
something that is so basic, like
hmm,
carnivore or low carb, and you're just like, okay, how can I make this more creative?
yeah.
So where do you think that comes from, that inspiration to make refried beans out of bologna?
Yeah, so there's a few, I think, elements that all play into this. One is just divine inspiration. People need help, and if you open yourself up to, I'm going to help people, I think God honors that. And at the front of everything I do is my faith. That is the whole thing of what I do. And so I think I'm going out, I'm trying to help people who maybe would never even consider doing something like this, to think, well, maybe I could try this. If I don't have to give up my blah, 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 I might go ahead and give this a try. And, I consider myself kind of the gateway drug to carnivore for people that are on a standard American diet that think they could never possibly imagine themselves doing this. And it's like, it may not be the cleanest version of carnivore, and it may not work for everyone, but it can certainly inspire a lot of people to try it for the first time. And then they can kind of take it from there. And all the doctors out there can explain to them how to make it cleaner and better. And so I think I'm putting all of my time and effort into trying to help people. And so I think that is something God honors. And I think He gives me ideas and inspiration that hit me just from out of absolutely nowhere. No idea where they come from, but they come from just the ether. And God says, "Here you go. Here's your next idea, and this will help somebody." So I think there's that. And then I have studied cooking as a obsessive hobby, I guess you could call it, from the time I was little. When I was old enough to sit up on the counter, my mom would sit me on the counter while she cooked, because we had no money, we had nothing. And so she would get things that were on sale that she could afford, and my dad would be at work, and she would go to the library and check out cookbooks because it was free to go to the library and get books, and that's what she did for entertainment. And so she learned how to cook by doing that stuff. And to keep me entertained at, 2, 3, 4 years old, if I'm old enough to sit up, she'd sit me on the counter while she cooked, and we'd play around. And as I started getting a little bit older, she started involving me in that process. And so we used to play this game where she would take spices off of this spice rack that she had from their wedding, and she would cover the label so I couldn't see what was inside this bottle. She'd take the lid off, and she'd let me smell it. and I had to guess what it was. And by the time I was about 4 years old, I'd memorized her spice rack by smell. And so I was doing this stuff from the time I was little, and I just grew up in a family where cooking was an important thing. And so I got really obsessive about researching and learning and going far beyond that. I would research, try to learn techniques, especially on YouTube. Imagine that. I was loving YouTube before I was even on there, but I would learn from French chefs, Michelin star chefs. I would study like, recipes from around the world. And I got very passionate about what could be done and understanding the science behind why it would work. And I would watch cooking shows with my parents growing up. And so then when I started doing this kind of thing, I started applying all of this stuff that I developed over the last 25, 30 years to just keto and carnivore ingredients. And my brain just works in it's a creative mind, as you said, and it just works in patterns and in understanding concepts and textures and flavors and layering things. And so I started applying all of that to these things. And so my real inspiration, I think, for where a lot of these ideas come from is my wife. I think one of the reasons she married me is because I started cooking for her not long after we met, and she hates cooking. She is very good at it, but
That's
she hates doing it. And a lot of people are that way, right? They just don't like doing it. She absolutely abhors cooking. Like, just I don't want to go in the kitchen and do that. Um, but she loves good food, and she's actually very adventurous palate wise. And so I had started cooking for her. Well, then we go keto, we go carnivore, and she's missing these things because that's a hard transition to make when you go, day one to day two. Just it's a light switch moment, right? And it can be hard. And so I was looking to still get the same reaction from her by making great food that I had always gotten. And sometimes that's easy to do with a steak. And sometimes you're just sick and tired of ground beef or steak or whatever, and you want something more. And so I would think about what are things that she likes? What are things that we enjoy? What are things that people in general seem to think of as comfort foods or fun foods or celebratory foods or whatever? And how could I get the texture and the flavor of that from ingredients that come from this basket of things I can pick from that are keto or carnivore? And I really hyper focused down into textures and flavors and how I can manipulate ingredients. And I use the food science and kind of put that all together. And then sometimes I see things online, I'll see somebody do something and I go, that's really cool, but you stopped short of what it could be if you do this, 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 and this. And I take a technique and I turn it into a completely different thing and create something brand new from it. And so it's kind of all of those pieces put together is sort of what turns into the Chris Cooking Nashville test kitchen, I guess you can call it.
I love it. I love it. And also, you and I were in the same place, but did not actually meet. We were both at Meat
Yeah.
Stock 2025.
Yep.
But there were 300 plus people. I mean, there were so many
Yeah.
people there.
Yes.
Um, and what was that experience like for you? Have you done meetups before?
So this is Meat Stock was the second low carb anything kind of event that Ash and I had been to. The first one we went to was Keto Palooza this last year, the last Keto Palooza that they did. And to be honest, when I walked into Keto Palooza as being our first event ever, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I remember Ash and I were talking about this, and because I mean, I had gotten my channel really had grown massively by that point, but I was like, I'm going to walk in. I don't even know if anyone's going to have a clue who I am. I've never been to any of these things, any of this kind of stuff. And I think I had the same experience there at Meat Stock as I kind of did with Keto Palooza, where it's like you walk in and you don't know really what people are going to be like. You don't really know how this is going to come across when you walk in the room. And both of them, it was this huge family of people who you walk in and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Chris Cooking Nashville. And like they come over and they want hugs and they want to tell you about their favorite recipe of yours. And, they talk about like, this is what this thing has done for me, or this is my favorite thing that I use this recipe all the time, or this has gotten my kids to start eating low carb. So now instead of making pasta, I make your noodles for them. And it's like when you start hearing things like, I feel like a better mom because I can feed my kids something that I know is better for them because you created that recipe, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. Those are the kinds of experiences you have when you're in person with people in the community, that there's no other way to get that. And when you do this kind of stuff, especially as much as I put into doing this as like a full-time thing, you hope that what you're doing matters to people.
Mhm.
And views on YouTube are great, but that doesn't necessarily mean it matters. That just means you get people to click and watch. And being in person with people at Meat Stock, where it's like, I hug you, I love your channel, I think this recipe is amazing, whatever. It really puts into perspective for you how the work that you do has real people on the other side of it. And those people are sometimes just enjoying what you do. Sometimes they are desperate for hope. But whatever the thing is that they use as kind of their means of connecting with what the work is you do, it's a real human being on the other side of it, and it's a person that deserves the respect and love of, you are valuable and you're worth it. And the reason that I do the work that I do is because it makes a difference in someone's life. And at the end of the day, that turns this into not a job, but a calling and a ministry. And that's kind of what, Ash and I have really leaned into that as the reason we do this. And going to Meat Stock was very much like jumping right into the middle of a community of people who all tell you, here's the actual real life impact of what you do and why it matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one thing to like be distant from the screen and everything, and it's a
Hmm.
completely different thing to have somebody in your face going, "You changed my life."
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard to ignore what you do mattering when you have someone in front of you who says, your mashed potato recipe makes it to where I don't go off the rails. I've been carnivore for a year and a half now without having a cheat meal because potatoes have always been my downfall. But because of your carnivore mashed potato recipe, now that's not the case anymore. And because of that, I am beating cancer. And that's the reason that I'm able to be here, because my treatments are working and I'm beating my cancer and I have the energy to travel. And like that's the level of story that starts to happen. Or you get people who say, I have a niece who is autistic and she cannot stand things that texture is wrong, flavor is wrong, and I'm trying to give her lower carb options when I'm cooking for her because it's good for her brain to have the fat and the protein. And I make your pizza crust, or I make your pasta noodles, or I make whatever it is, right? Fill in the blank. And she eats it. She doesn't throw it across the room. She doesn't freak out. She doesn't have a meltdown. She doesn't have any adverse reaction to anything she's tasting or the textures of things, because you've worked so hard to make this as close to the real thing as it can be. And she will eat that. And now I feel like I can better take care of, this autistic child, or even an autistic adult, or, whatever. There's just so many thousands of stories of why it changes people's lives. And you absolutely cannot ignore the impact of what that does in someone's life when that person is standing right in front of you explaining it.
Absolutely. It is priceless. And I think it's a priceless
Hmm.
experience for them as well.
Absolutely.
For them to
Absolutely.
recognize and know that you're a real person, that you're not
Yeah.
just this,
Yeah.
actor,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
you really are living this life.
Hmm.
And so I gotta just shout you out for a second because
Yeah.
you are gonna be at 2026 and
Hmm.
you're right here, like right there.
Yeah.
Crystal
Yeah.
Lyle, your
Yep.
picture is on the speaker list.
Hmm.
How does it feel to be among these giants and these doctors and these professionals?
Yeah,
Well, you're a professional. I'm not acting like you're not a
yeah, no,
professional.
no, no, absolutely. No, I think, you know, in a certain way, it's really humbling to be included in a group of people like this because you see the effect of the work that all of these people do. I also think it's really important, and this is kind of a good example, I think, with my name being amongst all of these other names. I think it's a really good example for people who watch this kind of stuff to remember that all of the people on this list are, as Dr. Barry would say, dudes and chicks, and it's like these are all real people. And the work that all of these people do is obviously hugely impactful. And the reason that they're on this list is because of the intense amount of work that has changed so many lives and the ingenious effort in some cases that they put into whatever their area of expertise is. At the same time, what makes people giants is not something about their identity, but it's really more about the people they impact. And so, really, the community and their improvements, their love for someone's work, the things that happen within those people's lives is what makes people a giant. And it's not in any way to take away from anything they've done, but I think it's a really good thing for people in the community to realize that it's like the names on this list are important not because of a birthright, but because of the fact that they dedicate what they do um, to helping others. And when you recognize that that's the reason the people have the accolades they do and that they are considered so impactful, it makes you realize that truthfully anybody out there, if they're willing to apply what they do to being great at something and then using it to go change the world and help people, you become one of these people. And um, I think the fact that my name ended up on this list is really a testament to that fact because here's the deal. I'm a redneck from Southeast Indiana and I grew up in a town of 800 people. I'm a country guitar player that came to Nashville because I'm a professional musician, both touring and studio musician. And I'm a really well trained home chef that has research to the nth degree. There's really nothing about me that makes me special enough to end up on that list, aside from the fact that I have just dedicated so much time to trying to make it about helping other people. And I think every single person on that list is there because of that. And I think that's why it's such a humbling thing to be listed amongst people like that, because it really says very little about your identity to be on that list. And it says a whole lot more about the work and the impact of what you do.
100%. Oh, could
Yeah.
not have said it better myself. So, and you're no stranger to, Tennessee, obviously.
Hmm.
But was that a cool experience for you to be in the mountains like that?
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. My wife and I got engaged in Gatlinburg.
Oh,
Gatlinburg is one of our favorite places. It's a few hours away from Nashville here, and we like to go over there for family things, go to Dollywood, and spend time in the mountains. And my parents actually went to Gatlinburg for their honeymoon way back in the day, so it's a place that I'm very familiar with. But Gatlinburg is a very cool place to hold something like this, especially for people who are coming from elsewhere around the country, because it's a very unique place all its own. And when you understand the history of it and you understand the culture that is there and you get to experience the beautiful scenery that is around you, and sometimes you see the black bear walking down the street that's trying to figure out how to get into someone's car. Like, I mean, it's an experience unlike a lot of other places that you could ever go in the world, and it's one of the reasons we love it there so much. So that was really cool to kind of go someplace where we like to go when we want to relax and vacation anyway, and get to meet so many amazing people in the community there.
absolutely. It's like twist my arm. Like, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
I'll
right.
go. I'll go. So I wanted to show everyone, obviously we showed Chris Cooking Nashville is your
Hmm.
YouTube video or your
Yep.
YouTube channel. And then we also have chriscookingnashville.com. So
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about what people will find here.
Yeah, so major shout out to my wife who built this website. She is amazing. But on my website, I have, of course, a free book, a free ebook called Keto and Carnivore for Real People that I created. And this is like a great way of if someone doesn't know anything about what keto or carnivore is, or they've heard the terms and they're trying to figure out what do I even do to start? Why would I consider this? It is a free download that you can just kind of scroll through, and it's just a compilation of the information I wish I would have had on day one of keto and carnivore. So you can go there and access that. There are some different videos on there. Right there is the when Dr. Baker had me on his channel to discuss kind of how I became Chris Cooking Nashville and talking about being over 400 pounds to ending up losing over 130 pounds and starting this whole YouTube channel and doing what I do. So that is on there. And then, of course, we list out things like our different live streams we do, and you can come and ask me questions when we do things like our Monday morning live stream, which actually I did right before this interview. Different things like that. I'm also involved in a thing called Keto Crusade, which is a live stream I do with Dustin at Keto Simple and Victor at Southern Keto. And, the three of us kind of work on bringing the community together because even if we all have different variations of what we do, we're all on this proper human diet. And as a community, we need to work together if we want to be able to change the world. And so we talk about that. I also have recipe cards on my website. They are printable and downloadable for all of my videos, so you can
Is it
have
at the
recipe
top?
cards. Yeah, there's a little page at the top
Oh,
there. It says recipe cards. So you can go there and you can see all of
wow.
my recipe cards, all free. So you can just download those or print them out or send them to a friend or whatever you would like to do. So those are a lot of fun. And then we also have a little tab up there that says join the band. And for anyone who
Yes.
does not know, I have this private community that we are doing stuff with called The Band. And our band members get exclusive access to private live streams. I do some extra recipes for them. They have direct access to myself as well as Ash for if you want to ask us questions, you want to talk, you want to interact. We just try to provide a community where we can support each other on those days where keto or carnivore is more difficult to do because it's not always an easy happy-go-lucky kind of experience. It can be tough. You can go through cravings, you can fall off the wagon, you can struggle, you can be told online you're not doing it right and getting beaten up in a comment section by someone who is far too overzealous about these things and cares more about the numbers than they do about the person behind it. There's a lot of stuff like that. Also, Victor at Southern Keto and Dustin from Keto Simple both have their own little tabs in there where they do stuff. Ash has a tab where she does stuff. I have our good friend Pastor Bob Beeman from Sanctuary International, the heavy metal carnivore pastor, the church we
Mhm.
go to. Really cool guy. He's in there and does things talking about his amazing transformation on carnivore and motivation. So we just have a whole bunch of things, and we're working to add more stuff in there. The band members actually got a preview of a seasoning salt recipe that will be in my upcoming cookbook that I'm working on.
Awesome.
Yep. So they got to kind of partake in testing that out. So I'm getting feedback from them as I'm creating and refining that seasoning recipe. So they get to take part in the cookbook by having some influence over that. So there's all kinds of stuff. We do some giveaways in there of like some kitchen gear that gets sent to us to review, and then we give really cool stuff away to band members. So there's a lot of stuff over there that we do to just try to create a supportive community to help people. And I have to say too, a shout out to Dr. Barry. So I was inspired to start a community because I've actually been a member of his private community, the PhD tribe, for a very long time. And so I was kind of inspired to, take a little bit of a lesson from how he was helping people and try to do the same thing. And I'm also honored to say that I'm the culinary coach in Dr. Barry's group as well. And so I do some private stuff over there for tribe members. and get to work with him and Nisha and do that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of different irons in the fire, places where we try to help people and resources that we're trying to provide.
That's incredible. I love it. And also, we have some different things that people can actually like wear. Um,
Yeah.
so what do we have here?
Yeah, so I've got a whole spread shop of different things, hats and shirts and aprons and bags and all kinds of stuff. I've got the Chris Cooking Nashville logos on those right now. Ash and I are currently working on developing some more designs as well.
Cool.
And it does go to just, help support the channel when you purchase these things. So it's it's a big investment to run a YouTube channel and try to do these things full time. And so when the community wants to show some love and support for the recipes that we do and help us purchase the ingredients it takes to do tests in the kitchen, or whatever these things are, it's just all different ways that we can kind of stabilize this and just continue to provide it the resources. And so purchasing some swag is a way to do it. We've got all different kinds of stuff, but we're working on new designs that will be coming soon as well. So we'll be expanding the merchandise there that you can go and purchase and represent Chris Cooking Nashville or Keto and Carnivore, or just anything proper human diet related. So we're working with one of our band members actually, who does graphic design and teaches on a college level, like graphic design type stuff and these things. And she's working with us to create some really cool stuff. So big shout out to Emily for doing that with us. She's amazing. And so we're gonna be releasing some new designs, hopefully sooner than later.
Awesome. That's so exciting. And I know that
Yeah.
people love that. They love representing that.
Yeah.
I wear my carnivore bar t-shirt all the time.
Hmm.
And someone asked me, they're like, "Didn't you wear that last year?" And I'm like, "It's my favorite shirt. Like,
That's
I
right.
love this shirt."
That's
So
right. When you find what you love, you wanna show it off and tell other people about it.
I know. So it's a great opportunity for people to get that.
Yeah.
And then we have your Instagram where you've got some more clips of different videos and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we pop up some reels and show, like, every now and then you'll see me doing some music stuff. And it's a little bit more of like, if you want to just get a quick overview of what some of the stuff is that I'm doing, and you like to scroll through the Instagram posts, and if that's your jam, that's kind of a fun place to do it. And so there's a little bit more of a picture into the life of Chris Cooking Nashville and Ash Taylor over there.
I love it. I love it. Is this Ash here next to you at Meatstock?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She is my partner in all of these things. So we are entrepreneurs multiple times over. Everything is a family business. So Chris Cooking Nashville would not exist without her. And a lot of people I don't think know, but she is actually a very successful independent country artist. So when we're
Oh,
not doing the YouTube thing, we are touring around the country or going in the studio and recording and releasing singles. AshTaylor.com. Anyone who wants to get some cool country music stuff can hear her. She's an amazing writer, amazing musician. And I play lead guitar and act as her band leader and do harmonies and that kind of stuff. So we just kind of do all of this together as a dynamic duo in all things.
awesome. I will put that link in the show notes for sure.
Yeah.
And then one more thing that I definitely want to talk to you about before you
Yeah.
go is you have an upcoming event
Yeah.
that I want to hear about.
Yeah, yeah. So this is Low Carb for Better Health, which is put on by Amanda Decker from Clear Path Medical. And we're going to be doing some live stream stuff with her and a bunch of different things. But this specifically is another one of these, like low carb meetup type events. And she has, as you can see, a star-studded speaker lineup as well. But on the first day, there's a meat sponsor that is working with her, and I don't want to give too awful much away because you guys have to show up to see all the cool stuff they're going to have. But she asked me if I would work with their meat sponsor and help to make some samples of things for people to test out the quality of the meat and get to taste a little bit of the Chris Cooking Nashville kind of cooking thing. So I'm going to be there supporting them. Route 22 Meats is that meat sponsor there. So we're going to be helping to support Amanda and the work she does with low carb for better health. And she She has a practice called Clear Path Medical, where she is actually licensed in multiple states to do like telehealth. And she's working to get licensed in more states and taking patients. And if you're looking for some help, she's a nurse practitioner. And if you are looking for some help with your medical things that you need a doctor patient or nurse practitioner patient type relationship with, but you want someone who understands the low carb lifestyle, she is fantastic for that. And so Ash and I have partnered up with her to do some different things, and we're going to be there for at least the first day of low carb for better health, and just cooking up some delicious meats of various kinds from Route 22 Meats. And we are very excited. I will hopefully be decked out in some rock and roll chef gear and manning the grill or the air fryer or whatever it is we're doing at the time. So we're gonna have some fun.
That's incredible. So that is September 12th through the 13th,
Mm-hmm.
2025. So this year, and in Burns, Tennessee. Is that
Yes.
near Ash or near Nashville or?
Yeah, so she is over in the Dixon, Tennessee area, which is west of Nashville. It's about an hour out that way, and Burns is out in that same general area. So it's just about an hour west of Nashville.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Chris, I am so excited that I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna beeline for you. I don't even care because I know that Meat Stock 2024 was about we had about 30 to 40 people at a time, and then
Mm.
this year there was about 300. The capacity for the room next year for 2026 is 1,500 people.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like on steroids.
Yeah.
But I am gonna make a beeline and meet you in Ash. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful because as a practitioner, I don't cook. I don't have
Hmm.
recipes. I help a lot of clients with mental illness, and I have to make this very easy for them. And what
Yeah.
I tell them every time is, tell me what you're missing. And they're
Hmm.
like, I miss my noodles. I miss my mashed potatoes. I miss my fried
Right.
chicken. And I'm like, easy. Go to
Yep.
YouTube and put
Hmm.
carnivore mashed potatoes,
Hmm.
carnivore noodles, carnivore fried chicken, and you will find something. And
Yeah.
it has completely changed the game for me with my clients. So
Hmm.
I can't thank you enough for doing these recipes and doing these videos because there's no way I could do that extra step.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand, and that's why it takes all of us. It takes a village, and all of us have our different areas of expertise, and that's what we're doing is we're all working together, trying to help as many people. And the so like I said, I was working on a cookbook that'll be coming out with Victory Belt Publishing. That will hopefully be coming out sometime early this next year. I'm not entirely sure. We're still working on it. I'm still writing, but we are hoping to have that out, and it's going to be 130 recipes, all carnivore, and then with some various like chefy tweaks, maybe keto, maybe carnivore, whatever they are, but some different tweaks. And it's going to be a as simple all the way to as complicated of a way to make an incredible carnivore diet happen for yourself as I know how to create. I'm really excited about that, and we'll be working with a publicist to hopefully have that all over the United States. It's also going to have international distribution, and we'll probably, as we're on tour, being musicians, we'll probably be also touring the cookbook, doing book signings and media appearances and stuff around the country. All next year. So hopefully by Meat Stock 2026, I will have actual copies of it. And hopefully we will have the soon to hopefully be well known Eat Your Meat, Love Your Life carnivore cookbook Bible of all of the craziest carnivore recipes you can have. So it's going to be really, really good.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That is incredible. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. Thank you so much for your generosity to the community. Like it is
Mm.
evident that you are over delivering.
Oh,
And
I
we are
appreciate that.
so grateful for not only your service, but your heart.
Mm.
Like it's evident that you are giving out of a passion and a
Mm.
calling and a mantle.
Yeah.
So I am so excited to just promote you as much as I can and to see where it's going to be in the next year. 2 years, five
Yeah.
years, like the sky's the limit.
That's right. That's right. We have a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of sick people around the world that need this message. And working hard to get it as far as we possibly can with as much love and passion as we can give it is what we do. So I really appreciate everything you've said and you having me on, and I just appreciate your support so much, Emily.
No problem. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.